Hey, Teddy K here for the Best Buy blog, and in this video we're taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy Ring, Samsung's debut smart ring that aims to track your health and fitness metrics while also giving you a comfortable fit. Samsung didn't start the smart ring category, but since entering the fray, it has made things a little more interesting. This is an interesting debut in its own right, partly because Samsung is not throwing everything into this ring, in my opinion, but also making it accessible to people who may have never used a smart ring before. I'm going to get into that, but first, the most imperative thing, in my opinion, here is the fit. So we have between sizes 5 and 13. Now, you may know your ring size based on a regular ring that you might be wearing or a previous smart ring from another brand, but I recommend you get the sizing kit to find out for sure, because this may not fit the same way. There are slightly protruding sensors on the inner side here, in the inner lining, that can maybe alter the way it feels. So you might need to go a little bit bigger or maybe a little, so I don't know. There are no half sizes either, so it's not like you can get like a 10.5 or anything like that. It doesn't work like that. So either way, get the sizing kit, wear each size that you're thinking about wearing for at least 24 hours, and just keep it on for whatever it is you're doing. So, you know, whether it's working or lounging or showering, anything like that, just keep it on just to see how it feels. And then you'll know pretty much at that point which one will fit. Now, once you have the right size and once you've got the ring, the setup is pretty easy. The Galaxy Wearable app is where you initially set up the ring, but it's a Samsung Health app that will actually track everything. You do not need a Samsung phone in order to use this ring. It can work with other Android devices, no iPhones. But there are some specific exclusive perks if you do have a Samsung device. So for example, there are gesture controls that'll work with select Samsung phones, so not all of them. And of course, there's also the AI component. So Samsung, obviously betting big on AI features with its phones in particular. So that will integrate to some degree also with the ring. And by that, I mean, for example, you will get AI-driven metrics or wellness tips, for example, that will be sent to your phone directly based on the data that the ring is picking up. So if you wake up, for example, there will be something there that may tell you. This will not happen. You can still get an energy score. So that's standard for all phones. But the way it's integrated on a Samsung device, where it's not just a score, but it's also some sort of an insightful tip or something that will to try and get you started on your day, that's very, very different. Now, I tested this ring with two phones. I tested with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, which I had for a very limited time when I first set up the ring. And then I also tested it with a OnePlus 13. The general experience is not that different between the two, to be very honest. So if you don't need a Samsung phone to necessarily use this ring, but I think your decision would probably be based more on what it is you're looking to track. The reason I say that is because, okay, activity tracking, you're tracking the basics, right? So there's steps, heart rate, stress, and for women, there's menstrual cycles. When it comes to automatic exercise tracking, you get walking and running. Those are the only two that are automatically tracked. Everything else, you would have to manually start in the app, the Samsung Health app first, before you get started. Otherwise, it won't know what exercise you're doing. So if you're cycling outside, for example, the ring, like Samsung Health doesn't know that you're doing that. Now, it might because you have the app with you, but again, it's better to start the exercise manually on the app first before you do anything, before the ring tracks anything. I recognize this may sound a bit confusing because, well, what do you mean? I mean, doesn't the ring just track all that? Yes, the ring will track your activity, but when it comes to knowing what that activity is, if it's not walking or running, it has no clue. So that's why there is a bit of a conundrum here where if you're thinking that you can exercise and do anything, like go to the gym or whatever without your phone with you, you may be disappointed that it may not be precise in what it is you're doing. So it'll track your activity, it knows your heart rate, even if you're stressed, anything like that, it'll know that, and it'll come up with a score based on that. But in terms of any of the other particulars, it won't know. That's where you have to have more of that manual input, right? Again, there's no screen on here. There's no haptic feedback. There's nothing on this ring that can do any of that for you. You're not inputting anything into this. This is a very passive device in that regard. And that passivity made me realize after using this and after testing it that this is largely focused on a holistic approach, right? So it's taking, like the energy score is an example of that. So the energy score is a mix of your heart rate, your activity, your sleep tracking, all that stuff. It kind of aggregates it all together and gives you a score, gives you a number. That, I think, is the main focus here, is how do those things come together and give you a general score? Because that score then can determine how you might be ready for whatever it is you got to do for the day coming up. I say that also because with sleep tracking, which I think is probably its strongest feature, the sleep tracking is, I like a smart ring for sleep tracking because it has less of a chance of moving out of place, like the sensor moving out of place relative to your skin, compared to a smartwatch. So a smartwatch can always move. It may not be as comfortable to wear for people who are going to bed. Totally understandable. So a smart ring exists to offset that. If you don't want to track your sleep with a smartwatch, no problem. You can take it off and then you just wear this. It has less of a chance of moving around. It's all good. Here, in this case, for the most part, I found sleep tracking to be quite accurate with this ring, but there were times where it just really baffled me. For example, there was one time where it thought I was awake for 90 minutes when I clearly wasn't. I can only assume that it's because the notch that's at the bottom of the ring, which indicates how you got to wear it. So that notch always has to face down towards your palm. Maybe that shifted a little bit. I didn't notice that it did when I woke up, but something was off. And so it miscalculated in that regard, which then threw off the sleep score, which then threw off the energy score. And so you get the picture. Basically, if there's a number in that aggregate that I described, if there's a number that's off, something that doesn't feel accurate even, it can throw off the broader number. So that's one thing that I would caution about when it comes to something like this, is that it's good, but it's not bulletproof. It is sometimes going to get it wrong. Most of the time when it comes to sleep, though, it gets it right. So it knew when I would fall asleep, it knew when I'd wake up, and the sleep scores were generally pretty accurate as far as the way I felt over the course of that day and how ready I might be to be active. The thing is, though, I can't help but compare this to an Oura ring. So I would wear the Oura ring at the same time as this. And I sometimes also alternated fingers. So I tested the Galaxy ring wearing it on my index and middle fingers, which are the two fingers you should be using when it comes to testing something like this. So I would alternate the two, and I would see based on what the results were. There were some times where tracking was way off between the two, particularly on sleep. There were times when the sleep scores were not aligned at all, but then there were a lot of times where everything was very, very close. So heart rate, even activity tracking, the margin between them was really negligible. So, but when they were off, though, they really were off. And I'm not entirely sure why, especially considering that, again, everything seemed in place as far as the sensors and all that. But I think the one positive here is that the Galaxy Ring will get a sense of what kind of sleeper you are. So when you look at the sleep data, so from REM to deep sleep, light sleep, all that stuff, you'll get a sense, it starts to get a picture of what kind of sleeper you are. And it takes some time. It takes 2 or 3 weeks, really, to get a good sense of that. Then there's battery. Now, for the Galaxy Ring, you can expect about a week, although size does matter, because if for someone wearing a size 5 ring compared to someone wearing a size 13 ring, the larger size of the ring naturally means a slightly bigger battery, which means a little bit more life. I would quantify it to maybe about a day, but it's hard to tell. Either way, you can expect up to a week. So at least probably 6 days, but you're looking at about a week, which is excellent for any wearable, especially compared to a smartwatch, right? And the beauty of it too is that you have a charging case. So you can put it in here, close it, and then you have an easy way to transport the watch and to recharge it. The case has its own battery, so you can recharge the ring 1.5 times as well. Very, very cool. The LED ring light around it also to indicate how much battery the ring has. Another little way you can check too is the sensors inside here, the LEDs with the sensors will also blink different colors. So if it's green, the more often it blinks green, the more battery life the ring has. If you see red, though, you know it's at 15% or less. might be time to recharge. And that's my review of the Samsung Galaxy Ring, available at Best Buy now. You can check it out by clicking that link below. For the Best Buy blog, I'm Teddy K. Thanks for watching.